research is what differentiates, the average from the best. And so when you see someone who comes out as a best, um, find out what they do, how much hours they put into work. And so I want to thank all of you that have been able to make today's class. At the same time, let me echo Kelvin's wishes for our Muslim brothers and sisters. Happy Eid Mubarak. I hope I got it very well. And then finally, I must thank today's speaker, Mr. Fola Alade. Like Kelvin said, he's not new to us. Um, Fola and his company, as well as Business Academy, have also helped us put this together. So, Fola, I must thank you very much. No amount of money, can be paid to you. First, in your own right as an expert, and then secondly, throwing the weight of your company behind, this knowledge project. We're very grateful to you. I particularly, I'm very grateful to you. This afternoon and in the next couple of minutes or hours, um, I want to plead with us to patiently um, follow today's lecture. And it's a lecture on emotional intelligence. We hear it a lot of times, but I think the context in which it is used many a times, is wrong, and it makes understanding of the importance of emotional intelligence, you know, um, quite difficult. Secondly, many a times, and I'm relating this also to business, for lawyers or aspiring lawyers, I've been asked this question many times, taken. The question around whether technology will get lawyers out of business, whether artificial intelligence will get lawyers out of business. So today we're talking about emotional intelligence, and I'm sure that the speaker will tie it to the importance or the less importance of artificial intelligence. But one question I like you to start thinking, and I'll start with a short answer, but of course the lecturer is going to embellish that answer, is will artificial intelligence take you out of business? Now, when I sit at my desk, I rarely can work with or without a junior lawyer. That's the truth. Because I know what I'm looking for and I know where to find it. And so once I put it together, AI just helps me arrange it in a nice way that accords with the way I write or with the way I speak. But there's some part of it that AI cannot do. And I'm sure Mr. Alade will talk to us a bit about them. AI really cannot interact, at least not in the way humans are. It's often said that the current AI can detect, AI can predict, and simulate emotions well enough to be useful, but it does not actually feel. It doesn't understand subjectively or possesses self awareness. And so when I juxtapose this, you now start, doing a distinction between the importance of uh, um, emotional intelligence and artificial intelligence. And that takes you to emotional intelligence being self awareness, subjective feelings, motivations, empathy. These are things that AI lacks. And so Fola will talk to us a lot about emotional intelligence and why you need to learn it and apply it in alternative dispute resolution, which is a part that AI cannot replace. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thought it was important to start with that foundation of that part so that we can pay full. And I'd like us to engage today's speaker as much as we can so that we can understand this part of our work. It helps us with knowledge, at the same time, a clear understanding of business sustainability. With those words, I want to welcome all of you again, and we look forward to a very robust class. Thank you very much. And I yield the floor back to Kelvin. Thank
Thank you so much, Dr. Tolu, for that welcome remark, and thank you very much once again for this opportunity. Mr. Fola, I don't know, maybe I should read your profile because we read it the last time. But again, as courtesy demands, I would read your profile again and then you take
you.
over. All right. Thank you very much. So, Fola Alade is a globally respected commercial lawyer, notary public, and accredited attorney mediator with over 15 years of experience. He has built a remarkable career at the intersection of law, dispute resolution, and professional development. He is the principal partner of Fortefa Partners LP and founder of the Fortefa Mediation Academy. Appointed to the United Nations Global Mediation Panel, Fola has mediated complex disputes on behalf of multinational organizations, government institutions, and commercial entities across Africa. His expertise spanned commercial conflict, workplace mediation, MSME disputes, real estate settlement, and debt recovery. He is a panel mediator with Nigerian Court of Appeal, Nigerian, Nigerian Court of Appeal, Federal High Court, and multiple state and arbitration centers around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker for today and our lecturer for today, Mr. Fola Alade. Mr. Fola, you're welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Mr. Calvin, and thank you so much, Dr. Tolu. So Dr. Tolu, I don't think you give yourself enough credit for the reason why we are having this conversation on the infusion of emotional intelligence and ADR, with specific reference to mediation. So I remember when we were still having, I'm sorry, am I audible, everyone? Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I remember when we were having this conversation. Thank you so much. Yeah. I remember when we were having this conversation about putting in emotional intelligence in amongst the modules to be spoken about, and learned colleagues, I'm going to be as frank as possible with everyone. And you see, the concept of dispute resolution has changed, and it's no longer business as usual. Now, who would believe that now we are having conversations around artificial intelligence, we're having conversations around the infusion of emotional intelligence into what it is that we do. And the question really is this, and I think the short answer to what to the question Dr. raised is that about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence will not take away our jobs as lawyers, but I can tell you for free, it will drastically affect your job as lawyers. And especially for those of you who want to play in the ADR space. And I don't think we also understand what is happening globally. Please permit me to use the extreme example of a pregnant woman. A woman does not know she's pregnant, from the day from when cohabitation happened. It's only when she probably stops seeing her period, among so many other things. By then, it would have gone far. What is happening in the dispute resolution space now, ladies and gentlemen, the rate at which ADR is moving, I sometimes I sit back and I ask myself one question: is ADR trying to make up for lost time? Now, maybe some years ago, I probably would have said that AI cannot take over our jobs. Yes, to a reasonable extent, it can't, but it will distinguish one good lawyer from the other. Because I would ask you one question: if you are going to play in the international space and you don't even have artificial intelligence, how do you want to survive? Now, it's amazing that even when you have conversations with lawyers, they only know about ChatGPT. For those of you that play actively in the AI space, you find out that ChatGPT is slowly becoming obsolete. It's slowly become obsolete. What are we having? We're talking about Claude. We're talking about Claude Biotropic. We're talking about Manus. We're talking about Nano AI. We're talking about Gemini AI. We're talking about different forms of LLMs coming up. Now, while all of this is happening, ladies and gentlemen, where are we? where are we? And I said this the last time, and I'm going to say it again. ADR passes the test of universality. And it's really very important that as we play in the dispute resolution ecosystem, that's what I was looking at, we need to start thinking outside of Nigeria. We need to start looking beyond 250 million, the population of Nigeria being over 250 million. We need to start looking beyond the population of Africa, which is over 1.5 billion. We need to start looking at the population of the world at 8.5. And this is why this kind of conversation is very important. Because really and truly, ladies and gentlemen, the definition of illiteracy has been changed. It is no longer your inability to read and write. It's your inability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. New level, new devil. So if you are going to distinguish yourself, if you are going to stand out in the dispute resolution space, there are certain essential qualities that you must have. First is emotional intelligence. Second is your knowledge of artificial intelligence. You see, it's really, really very important. Having said that much, I will then go into today's topic, which really is the synergy of emotional intelligence and mediation. And I would like to once again commend Dr. Tolu for giving this initiative a balanced perspective. And when I'm talking about a balanced perspective, in the sense that we are having conversations surrounding arbitration, we're having conversations surrounding negotiation. So we're going to have a speaker that will talk about conciliation. And now we are talking about the infusion of emotional intelligence into mediation. So that at the end of the day, when you now have that balanced knowledge, you can then make up your mind on what it is you want to do. Do you want to have an and, or you want to have an or? Do you want to have arbitration and mediation, or do you want to have arbitration or mediation? And the beauty about this initiative, which I think stands out, all thanks to Dr. Tolu Aderemi, is that for little or nothing, you have a balanced perspective on what it is you want to do. Because a lot of times people want to come into the ADR space and they're confused. They don't know what they gravitate towards. They don't even have any idea about whether it's going to be arbitration. They don't even know whether it's going to be mediation. And a big thank you once again, Dr. Tolu, for this beautiful initiative. So having said that much, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to delve right into today's topic. And what are we talking about? We are looking at the synergy of emotional intelligence and mediation as an effective means of dispute resolution. Interestingly enough, a lot of what I will be talking about today also has to do with ADR. And I'm sure by now you all know that ADR is a tree, is a tree that has different branches. We are talking about the branches of negotiation. We're talking about the branch of mediation. We're talking about the branch of conciliation, among so many other things. So I'll please just crave your indulgence 1 minute to pull up something on my screen, and then we'll get right into it. Just 1 moment, please. Okay. Yes. Okay. So, like I said earlier on, we will be looking at the synergy of emotional intelligence and mediation. Now, the topics to be looked at under that will be the etymology of mediation and emotional intelligence, benefits of using emotional intelligence in mediation, and the qualities that you must possess as an emotional intelligence mediator, how to tailor communication to beat conscious resistance, and the tools for increasing your patience as a mediator. Now, you see, emotional intelligence is no longer a buzzword, ladies and gentlemen. It is now slowly becoming an essential part of what it is that we do, especially in legal practice. Now, in high-stakes environment like litigation, arbitration, mediation, which is usually filled with a lot of tension, ambiguity, and emotional dynamics running high, your ability as a lawyer to not only recognize, manage, and respond to emotional cues can significantly influence outcomes. But the starting point, ladies and gentlemen, which I think is really, really very important, is the perception of conflict. When people talk about conflict, and when I'm talking about when we talk about people talk about conflict, I'm talking about clients. The way they see conflict is different. they see it as well, it is a misunderstanding, but for them, for some of them, it's almost like a do or die affair. They believe, oh, there's this victor vanquished mentality. If I'm having a dispute with somebody, then I'm coming in to take everything. Ladies and gentlemen, conflict is not like that. And I dare say that conflict is not only innate in us, conflict is as old as mankind. If we have to go back in the days when during the beginning of time, we can assume that the first conflict that happened was between the devil and I think Eve in the Garden of Eden, when they had to do with whether they had to eat the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Or are we talking about the dispute between Cain and Abel, Esau and Jacob, King Saul and King David, to mention a few? So for the longest time, ladies and gentlemen, we've always had conflict. But what has happened is that we have not been able to eradicate conflict. Conflict has always evolved with time, so much so that it has become a hydra-headed monster. When you cut off one head, 2 or 3 heads come into place. I dare say maybe 1,000 years ago, I'm going to use Mr. Kelvin as an example. If I had issues with Mr. Kelvin, we're probably going to go to one stadium and then probably fight to death or something. But what do we have now with conflict? If Mr. Kelvin has a problem with me, he brings an action against me. So you can see now that what has basically happened, ladies and gentlemen, is that conflict has not been eradicated. It has only evolved, and it will continue to evolve. And why this analogy is important is for you to, first of all, have an understanding of conflict and not see conflict as a bad thing. See conflict as something that can be resolved. Conflict that does not have to do with a winner takes all mentality. And that is why the 21st century lawyer that understands conflict powered by emotional intelligence is going to be a different lawyer. And I also think that it's also very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, that as you evolve, you do not look at dispute resolution in isolation. You should start looking at dispute resolution in association with soft skills, because really and truly, that is the only way you can stand out. And you see, every year we have so many lawyers called to the bar. So if you have to distinguish your legal practice from another legal practice, what ancillary soft skills do you think you should put into place to make you stand out? I dare say, ladies and gentlemen, that emotional intelligence should be one of them. Now, you see, if you are now going to dig deeper into understanding emotional intelligence in legal practice, it's important to state that at its very core, your ability to be emotionally intelligent should make you perceive and understand emotions, not only in yourself, but emotions in others. Because the way we see conflict is totally different from the way parties see conflict. And why I say this is that it's just like a doctor. When you go to the hospital and you tell the doctor you're not feeling fine, you think life was to end, you are making all sorts of complaints. What does the doctor do? The doctor asks you certain questions. Once you are able to tick all the boxes, the doctor is able to know whether you have malaria, whether you have typhoid. That analogy is almost similar to the way and manner parties see dispute. For them, they're having a problem with someone, they think, oh, this is it. This is the final one. I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. But as a mediator, as a dispute resolution specialist, you already know that it is not as bad as people say it is. So in legal context, the infusion of emotional intelligence into dispute resolution really helps you with client management, helps you with stronger advocacy. It helps you with improved negotiation and also an enhanced ability for you to be able to not only navigate adversarial, but also collaborative processes. Now, having said that much, ladies and gentlemen, before we even go into the full context of emotional intelligence, it's very important that you have an understanding of the fact that emotions drive positions. They fuel resistance, and most times they obstruct resolution. But it's also important for me to also stress that, you see, the average human being is 95% emotional and 5% logical. But you know what usually happens? They take emotional decisions and then try to justify it with logic. So when you have that understanding of the fact that human beings are more emotionally driven than logically driven, it helps you to put certain things in proper perspective. And when we're talking about certain things, what do I mean? as an emotionally intelligent lawyer, your ability to read nonverbal cues, your ability to navigate emotionally charged situations, build trust with parties, and also maintain composure under pressure. So having said this much, we then go into the core topic of today, which is this: what is emotional intelligence? You know, it's now become a buzzword that people are actually throwing around. If anything happens, you hear the word, oh, he's not emotionally intelligent. He lacks emotional intelligence. But you see, when we look at what makes up the word emotions, it's two: energy in motion. You know, that is why it's called emotional intelligence. That's why it's called emotions. Now, when you then infuse the word intelligence into it, essentially what it means is your ability to think, feel, and act. It's your ability to perceive, use, understand, manage, and handle emotions. You know, that is essentially what emotional intelligence is all about. And it's also very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, to state that there are 4 cardinal principles where the concept of emotional intelligence is concerned: your ability to understand, your ability to use, your ability to manage, your ability to perceive. Now, let us take time out to then break these things further to understand. Now, as a lawyer, as a mediator, how are you able to understand emotions? You see, there is, more often than not, when you see someone smiling, the reason why that person is smiling is because the person has thought of something happy. That thought has elicited a feeling that has now elicited the way somebody behaves. So you can now see that at the very core, you have what is called the TFA. The way you think determines how you feel. The way you feel determines how you act. Now, I'm just going to perform a simple experiment now by seeing if I have anybody. Can anyone switch on the video? Can anyone please switch on the video? If you're listening to me, I need anyone to please switch on the video. I just want to just ask a question, and let me see if I can see your face. Okay, now, yeah, so I can see someone. So I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go with Emetanjo Favor Usochukwu. Yeah, your background is really clear. So I'm going to have to ask you to madam to please unmute yourself now. And I would also everyone present, I would like you to please Emetanjo, you switched on your video. Have you switched it off again? Okay, so thank you
Yeah, I
so
didn't
much.
know you wanted it on.
Okay, so I want your video on, and I also want you unmuted. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I need you all to I'm going to spotlight Miss Favor. Now, madam, good afternoon. How are you today?
Oh, I'm very fine, thank you. I'm very fine.
Okay, now
I'm
can
very
you
fine, thank you.
now try and imagine, madam, if right now where you are seated, I just transfer like maybe $1 billion into your account right now. How would that make you feel? Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can just see what just happened now. You know, her face lit up in excitement. That right there is what is called the TFA approach. Probably in her mind, she's thinking of, man, I'm probably going to buy one yacht, go abroad, do a lot of things. Now, on the flip side too, if heaven forbid, madam, you just wake up and find out that someone has transferred all the money you have in your account, how would that make you feel? Can you see? Can you see how the look on her face has changed? You see, that is essentially what happens. You know, so most times people don't understand. Thank you so much, madam. Thank you so much for that. So most times people don't understand how important emotions are. So you can now imagine a scenario if I'm in a mediation session and I then see certain emotions being displayed. I would understand that obviously something is going on. And that is why in anything that you do, because I'm going to try so hard not to limit the conversation on emotional intelligence to just mediation alone. I'm going to look at the infusion of emotional intelligence, not only in mediation, we're going to have a look at it in litigation, we're going to even have a look at it in arbitration, for you to understand that it is a master key that can open any door at all. Because I'll tell you one thing for free, ladies and gentlemen, you see, people do business with people they know, they like, and they trust. You see, people gravitate towards people that they like. I'm sure one of you or have 1 or 2 artisans that these artisans are so good, but you have problems referring them to other people because you know if you do, there will be problems. You are the only one that knows how to manage such artisans. And you know very well that if they had a better attitude, they would not be where they are in life today. We have some people that are very, 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 very good at what they do. Even lawyers, you know, when it comes to effective resolution of disputes, they understand the law, they understand the tenets of it. They know how, they are very good at what they do. But the only reason why some of them don't go that far is because of the attitude. You know, lack of emotional intelligence, inability to speak well, among so many other things. So you can now understand how important emotional intelligence is. This is what some people call in organization, they say it is favoritism. They say, oh, this person is playing politics. No, the person just understands how to navigate human emotions. The person understands how to move in places. You know, so you cannot not be emotionally intelligent in the 21st century that we are in right now. So having said that much, you need to, as an emotionally intelligent press lawyer, you should be able to comprehend emotional language. You should be able to appreciate complicated relationships among the emotions. The fact that even the concept of happiness is fleeting. That you're happy now does not mean you're going to be happy tomorrow. You understand? So it's really very important to have an understanding of that. Now, having spoken about understanding emotions, how about managing emotions? You cannot manage emotions in others without, first of all, managing emotions in yourself. So, first of all, the ability to regulate emotions, not only in yourself, but in others, makes you emotionally intelligent. And in such a way and manner that you know that if everywhere around you is in turmoil, you know, you are in control of the way you feel. So that's why sometimes when I see lawyers getting upset and they say, oh, he spoke to me in this way and manner, and that was what led to that outburst. You see, it's very, very important that we start taking ownership of the way and manner we feel and stop blaming our actions and inactions on people. So your ability to manage emotion is another cardinal feature of emotional intelligence. How about using emotions, the ability to harness emotions to facilitate several cognitive activities? Now, what does this mean? Your ability as a lawyer, your ability as a mediator to capitalize on changing mood helps greatly. You know, you're probably in a session, you are with a client, you then notice the change in the attitude of your client. You know, you do not discountenance emotions like that. You ask to find out what the issues are and then use those emotions, not against the person, but as an avenue to understand why they are actually doing what it is they are doing. How about perceiving emotions? Ladies and gentlemen, it's important you understand that the mind and the body are connected, and at every point in time, you cannot not communicate. Ladies and gentlemen, you are communicating at every point in time. I can see Annabella's name here. If I tell Annabella to stand up and she decides to stand up, she's communicating. If she refuses to stand up, she's still communicating, but you know what she cannot do? She cannot not communicate. So it's very, very important that you understand that at the end of the day, what makes you stand out as an emotionally intelligent lawyer is your ability to detect and decipher emotions in faces. You know, your ability to know when there is a change in the way and manner people act once they are either happy or they are sad. So whenever you want to say certain things, always have that awareness of the fact that whatever it is I'm going to say to this person can literally change their mood. Now, having said that much, what is the importance of emotional intelligence in mediation? So like I said earlier on, I'm basically trying to see how I can use one stone to kill as many birds as possible. So you have to excuse me if now you're finding that I'm talking about infusion of emotional intelligence in litigation. I'm looking at it from the arbitration point of view. I'm looking at it from the mediation point of view. It's essentially principally the same thing. You know, we're talking about a master key that can practically open any door. So first things first, an emotionally intelligent mediator, you see, builds trust. Why is trust very important in mediation? You see, more often than not, when parties come into mediation, they come into mediation with a level of resistance. Don't forget that chances are that they don't even know who you are. And you're not expecting, quote and unquote, a total stranger to help parties navigate an amicable resolution of the issues in contention. And how can an emotionally intelligent mediator build trust? is through rapport. You know, and every time I talk about emotional intelligence, for those of us from the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse, people, I can remember somebody asked me, Fola, how did you even find out about emotional intelligence? And I told them I learned it from Mr. Onyema. And so I remember, I think over 10 years ago when I was still observing at the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse. So I think I was assigned to one of the cases and I watched Mr. Onyema go into the mediation session. You know, he came into the mediation session all smiles. And of course, the energy was already tense. So you can imagine a scenario whereby the mediator is coming in, is all boisterous, is happy and all of that. You see, what people don't understand is that energy is contagious. You know, the moment he came in with such energy, everybody became relaxed. You know, and by the time he took time out to break down the tenets of what the issues and contention was, the party settled. And I remember I asked him, I said, sir, this is different. And he's what said, it's simply emotional intelligence. And I was like, oh, wow. So is this what emotional intelligence can do in mediation? I then decided to go and dig deeper into it. And I became a double certified emotional intelligence specialist. And I can tell you one thing for free, that one thing that has greatly helped my mediation practice, ladies and gentlemen, is behavioral sciences. That is the infusion of emotional intelligence, cognitive behavioral therapy, neuro-linguistics programming into the way and manner I resolve disputes. Because you see, the truth of the matter there is, ladies and gentlemen, everybody has a tell. You know, and when I'm talking about a tell, what this means is that if you are happy, there's a tone, there is a way and manner you speak. There's a way your tone changes when you're happy. There's a way your tone changes when you're sad. There's a way your tone changes when you are lying. There's a way you look like when you lie. There's a way you fidget when you... So human beings have a lot of tells. So once you just have that awareness and that consciousness, it makes your job a lot easier. You know, and that is why once a party is able to build, establish rapport, you know, and when we're talking about rapport, what does that mean? That is a deep and unconscious state of trust that the parties have in the mediator. It helps you to move your mediation sessions effectively. And like I said earlier on, people who are like each other tend to like each other. And you see, it's bad enough that the parties are in conflict with each other. But I promise you, once the parties are in conflict with the mediator, it's going to be very, very difficult for the mediator to have that issue resolved. And that's why if the parties come into a mediation session and for any reason at all, if one of the parties has a problem with the mediator, and the mediator senses that resistance, you find out that the mediator can decide to even recuse himself from the mediation session. Because if it doesn't, then that means that most likely that mediation session may end in a deadlock. So if we talk about rapport, then what then is the opposite of rapport? The opposite of rapport is resistance. And this is when the parties just don't have that there's this sense of distrust in the process. They just have a problem with the way and manner the mediation process is going on and just somehow feel that, you know what, I don't think I want to go ahead with this. And that's why I always say this, that you see, where mediation is concerned, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think we have any difficult mediation session. What we usually have are difficult parties, because you may have the most complicated mediation suit brief. But because the parties are receptive, it's easier to have the issues resolved. And you may have an issue as simple as landlord and tenants, you understand? But because the parties are very difficult, the mediation may not get settled. So it's really very important that you have an understanding of what emotions say and play in mediation. Now, why this is extremely important in this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, is communication. You know, we have verbal and non-verbal communication. Now, when we're talking about verbal communication, this essentially has to do with the things that you say. The non-verbal has to do with the way and manner you move. Now, it would interest you all to know that all that I have been saying so far in terms of communication is just 7%. In fact, if you take time out to break down what makes up for effective communication, I can't remember the name of the scientist. It was basically divided into 3 parts. The first part is that anything and everything you say is just 7%. Your tonality, which has to do with the way and manner you speak, the volume, the intonation, is 38%. But you see, what makes up for effective communication, ladies and gentlemen, is your physiology. You know, your posture, your facial expression, your blinking, your gesticulation. You know, that's why sometimes you hear conversations like, can you imagine how he spoke to me? How can he be talking to me in that way and manner? So that shows you that as important as what you say is, what is more important is the tonality. What is more important is even your physiology. If I'm having this training, I'm probably reclined, seated in one funny manner and all that, you'll find out that a lot of things I will be saying may pass through your ears. Why? Because my body posture is not effectively carrying out what it is I'm supposed to say. So if you then go back to them, to what it is they were saying, you see, an emotionally intelligent mediator would help parties to respond appropriately. Because I'll tell you one thing for free, energy is contagious. If as an emotion, if as a mediator I come into my session, I'm frowning, I'm not happy and all of that, the parties may not even want to go ahead with the mediation session with me. I'm going to try and move very fast because I see that we're already 5:43 and this session is to end at 6:30. Now, of course, management of behavior and relationships. And apart from even the underlying issues that parties have also come into your mediation session with, you have behaviors, you have some parties coming in very upset, agitated, and angry. But you see, it's also very important that you understand that the emotions being displayed by the parties have absolutely nothing to do with you. So you cannot imagine a scenario whereby someone is speaking and his voice is elevated, and then you assume that the person is shouting at you. No, that's the person's mode of communication. You would also find out that with some lawyers that the moment they get into that argumentative state, their voice becomes higher. And sometimes they don't even know because that is the state they are in when they are arguing. So, but an emotional intelligent person will understand that this is not because the person is obviously upset at me. This is the state the person has taken in the way and manner he or she wants to communicate. So having said that much, what are the qualities that you must possess as an emotionally intelligent mediator? What are the qualities that you must possess as an emotionally intelligent lawyer? What are the qualities you must possess as an emotionally intelligent arbitrator? You see, the first thing, ladies and gentlemen, is self-awareness, an understanding of self, an understanding of your strength, an understanding of your weaknesses. And why this is especially very, very, very important is that, you see, before you can have an understanding of others, you must have an understanding of who you are as a person. You know, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. So for some people, they have the ability to multitask. And this is also taking it outside the realm of today's topic. You know, when I'm talking about multitasking in a sense, is that we have some people that they are multifaceted. You know, they are arbitrators, they are litigators, they are mediators. They can do quite a lot of things together. I am not like that. You know, my own is one. I can only do one good thing at a time. And I've always understood this about me. And that's the reason why I just went headlong into mediation. You know, my blinders are on. I don't do so much. I don't do litigation. I don't do arbitration. If I have any of those cases, what I do is that I refer them out. You know, I have an understanding of self to the point that I focus more on my strengths, and my weaknesses I delegate. Now, I get the fact that there is a need for you to strategically position for yourself for that windfall in such a way and manner that if this litigation that is coming up, you jump on it. If it's arbitration that is coming up, you jump on it. If it is mediation that is coming up, you jump on it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you for free, there's money in everything. The name of the game is consistency. The name of the game is specialization. And we are now getting to a point in time now whereby even the clients themselves are no longer looking for generalists. They're looking for specialists. You know, they're looking for people that have taken time to hone their skills. And so if you have an understanding of self in terms of what it is that you gravitate towards, you will know what it is to do. And that is why I commend Dr. Tolu for coming up with such an initiative, because what he has been able to do is to lay to rest that question of, oh, what am I going to do? I don't know whether I'm going to do arbitration. I don't know whether I'm going to do litigation. I don't know whether I'm going to do mediation. You see, once you've been able to go through this entire course, you're going to have enough knowledge on which of the ADR processes you want to focus on. And then what you can then do is just to get certified or accredited on that. So like I said earlier on, the first quality you must possess really is that of self-awareness and understanding of self. Because the question is this, I always ask people, outside of your name, you understand, who are you? When you wake up in the morning and you look at the mirror, now, if I take away the position you occupy, I take away the way and manner you are in the society, if I ask you, who are you? Do you really, really know who you are? And that is one question I think we should all take time out to answer. Who am I? Because if I'm able to have an understanding of self, it would really, really help me to navigate life. And that's why it's very important that in even having an understanding of self, you should be able to accept your emotions. I already spoke about having an appreciation of your strengths and your weaknesses, have an understanding of your biases and assumptions, and of course, your ability to also listen actively. You understand? Being able to turn past experiences to a good one. Because you see, an understanding of yourself is wise, but he who knows others is wise. But he who knows himself is enlightened. So some of the qualities that you will possess as an emotionally intelligent individual is self-awareness, having an understanding of self. How about self-management? It's not enough that you are able to identify who you are. Your ability to control your emotions and impulses are also very, very important. Because sometimes when I see how people get so agitated, I see the way and manner we speak to each other, and the next thing we say is, oh, he got me upset. You understand? He pushed me to say XYZ, XYZ. You understand? That is not you taking, that is not you acknowledging who you are as a person. So I already spoke about self-awareness. I'm also talking about self-management, which is essentially the ability to control your emotions. Apart from even controlling your emotions, as a good mediator, you must try not to get emotionally involved with parties. And in talking about objectivity and self-control, we cannot do justice to this topic without also talking about self-awareness. Now, as much as I may do I handle a lot of cases where mediation is concerned, I run away from family cases, cases that have to do with, that involve a lot of high emotions. Why? Because apart from not even having that patience to handle it, I like commercial cases because I'm a bit detached from commercial cases. And of course, we understand that the foundation of most commercial cases stems from a breach of contract, So there's a way you can emotionally detach yourself and work parties towards an amicable resolution. But once it comes to family disputes involving husband and wife, because most times the problem that may have caused the issue is usually never the problem that started the issue. So there are certain qualities that you need to have, apart from having a high level of patience. You must be an empath among so many other things. So the understanding of self that I have and made me know that, look, what, Fola, when it comes to cases that involve a level of high emotions, I stay away from it. So that is why you need to have that understanding that, first of all, apart from even having self-control, you should also have an understanding of the fact that as a mediator, you cannot become emotionally involved with parties, to a point where when issues come up, you find the parties probably crying or something like that. And yes, I've heard of situations where mediators could not even hold their emotions, and then they found themselves in such situations. So one important quality that not only even mediators should even have, really, that everyone I think should have as lawyers, really, is empathy. Because you see, when you are empathetic, it's another distinguishing fact that everybody should have. Now, when we're talking about empathy, what do I mean? It's basically your ability to identify with and understand people's emotions. It's your ability to have an understanding of where they are coming from. And why this is really very important in mediation, in life, and in anything and everything that you do, is that you are basically able to put yourself in the shoes of others. You are basically able to understand where they are coming from. And you see, more often than not, an empathetic lawyer, a lawyer that has an understanding of the way and manner his clients feel, would help him understand where they're coming from. You're able to see their world. You're able to appreciate them as human beings. And one thing I think I've also noticed, and a lot of times, is that sometimes some lawyers have become so desensitized by what they do that they just see it as a job. They no longer, they forget the fact that apart from rendering a service, the service you're rendering has to do with human beings. They become so desensitized that at the end of the day, it's about them alone. It's about what they can get from it. And you find that more often than not, you're not able to manage relationships. You're not able to preserve relationships. So how then can you improve your empathy skills? One is by being a supportive listener. One is by being an active listener, not listening with the intention of responding, but listening with the intention of understanding. Because they're two different things. When you're listening with the intention of responding, you're only looking for the weakness of that person's argument to be able to say it back to them. You understand? And once you're empathetic, whenever the other party speaks, you are able to clarify thoughts, you are able to clarify feelings, you're able to clarify ideas. And it also helps because you're also able to keep your emotional perspective in order and to be able to anticipate what the other person's emotional state will be. Even your body language will help because you are able to have a warm gesture, you are able to keep eye contact, you are able to basically infuse humor and smile in what it is that you do. Now, having said all of this in navigating the cardinal features of emotional intelligence, your ability to understand, use, manage, the importance of self-awareness, self-management, objectivity, and self-control. Now, if we then put everything together and try to then juxtapose and try to infuse it into dispute resolution, what then is the practical benefit of an emotionally intelligence driven mediation? Ladies and gentlemen, one is an increased likelihood of settlement. Because you see, we need to have an understanding of the fact that mediation is party driven. So unlike arbitration and litigation, that there has to be a judgment or an award, where mediation is concerned, both parties have to agree. So if you are able to help both of them navigate the murky waters of the dispute, there is a high tendency that you're going to have an increased likelihood of success. Like I said, my own mediation practice is powered by behavioral sciences, not only emotional intelligence, but a bit of NLP. So I can tell you that an emotionally attuned mediator and a lawyer, they can help to foster an environment of safety and respect. You are able to basically help the parties to move from rigid positions to exploring other awareness of solutions. And most importantly is the preservation of relationships. I dare say that there are very few modes of dispute resolution that, no, apart from even restoring, apart from even an amicable resolution, but also tries to restore the business relationship. So another one, like I said, especially in family, workplace, or business partnerships, where we already have ongoing interaction, you should post resolution. Once it's emotionally driven, it helps them to do so. And of course, the durability of an agreement. Once the parties have agreed to what it is that they want to do, you'll find that more often than not, once the parties feel heard, once they feel respected, there's a higher tendency for them to honor that agreement. But then how about reduced legal cost? Something I like to call the litigation lottery, judgment for or against. And because at the end of the day, even when you have a judgment at the High Court, you see, there's still the Court of Appeal, there's still the Supreme Court. I don't even want to go into the cost that goes into all of this. And I think it's also very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, that we ask ourselves what the language of 21st century is. Because anything that we do as lawyers, you cannot do them in isolation. And I think sometimes that as lawyers, we seem to forget the fact that we're service providers. We are rendering a service of dispute resolution. Now, you cannot render that service of dispute resolution in isolation. You cannot render that without even looking at what is going on right now. Like I said earlier on, ladies and gentlemen, the conversation is no longer about efficiency. The conversation is about speed. The conversation is no longer about effort. The conversation is about results. So when your client comes to meet you and then tells you that he wants a dispute resolution that can be that can be resolved timeously. So when they give you, once you have that brief, what then do you recommend? You understand? I want this brief resolved at the very least, if you're able to get the other party within a week or two. Of course, it's going to be mediation. You know, understand? Now, parties are beginning to tell their lawyers, you know what? I want to have this dispute resolved. I also want to be able to maintain a business relationship with this person. So we need to have an understanding of the fact that the ecosystem of dispute resolution, ladies and gentlemen, has changed. So much so that whatever it is that you do, if you cannot do them outside, if you only confine yourself to your space, they are becoming the relic of a lost age. You know, and the beauty about ADR is that everybody is global if you are playing in the ADR space, because unlike law, if I have to go to Canada, go to Germany, go to the United States to practice law, I have to go to their law school. But ladies and gentlemen, an ADR practitioner in Nigeria is an ADR practitioner anywhere around the world. So your conversation has to be global. Your conversation has to be local. And I would also say one more thing. You see, the people that are getting this dispute resolution rights, a lot of them are non-lawyers, because you see, what ADR has done is that it has opened the gates for non-lawyers to come into play. And I said this the last time. And the non-lawyers are coming into ADR. A lot of them are coming with a plan. But then when I have a conversation when I have conversations with lawyers, I ask them, what is the plan? And what is the plan they're coming? The plan is specialization. You know, once they come into the ADR space, they are probably they're based on their background. If it's communication, if it's engineering, if it's architecture, if it is medicine, they have an understanding of the issues that are going on in that space, and they are coming in with their knowledge of dispute resolution to go and resolve that dispute. But when we come into ADR, we want to do everything. You know, we want to be everywhere. So we need to have an understanding of the fact that the conversation is no longer even about speed. The conversation is about specialization. The conversation is about domination. The conversation is about universality. The conversation is about being global. You see, so we cannot continue to practice law in the way and manner our predecessors have practiced it and expect the same result. That is why we are having conversations about emotional intelligence. That's why we're having conversations about even mentoring. You understand, trying to ensure that some of the mistakes that the predecessors have made, we do not make that predecessor make those mistakes. Having said that much and digressing, I'm going to come back into how important emotional intelligence is in mediation. First of all, it helps you prepare your clients emotionally for the process, because it can be emotionally draining. You know, so, and the way we see disputes is not how parties see disputes. You know, it also helps you help the clients manage their expectations and reality. Because more often than not, what the expectations you have, if you are having a demand of maybe 1.5 million, is usually not what comes out of it. It also helps you to be able to coach the parties to express their concerns constructively, and also helps you to be able to identify the emotional drivers behind the other party's emotions. And most importantly, especially as far as the mediators are concerned, it helps them to be able to de-escalate tension when necessary. Now, how about emotional intelligence in litigation? It helps considerably, especially during cross-examination. You know, there's this word I hear that makes me laugh. Whenever I hear, I put it to you. You know, I always ask myself one question. Why do you always have to shout at them? When I was still in active litigation, why do you need to shout at parties when you are cross-examining them? Why do you need to literally bully parties? And when I was in active practice and I saw the style of Mr. Adetunji Oyeiko SN, you know, the way and manner he cross-examines the parties, the way he speaks to them, you know, he's able to ask his questions in this soft tone and demeanor without making the parties feel as if they are being harassed. So it's really very important that, especially lawyers in active litigation, I feel that they can do better where emotional intelligence is concerned. I don't take it for granted that litigation is adversarial, and that as lawyers, you must strongly argue for your client while managing the courtroom. You understand? But there's so many things that go on that as lawyers, I don't think we put into consideration the anxiety of the client. You understand? The fact that they're coming into a space, seeing everybody wear wig and gown, they are seated at the back, you know, they don't even know what is going on among so many other things. So it's very important that as lawyers, you're able to read the courtroom, you understand, have an understanding of the shift in moods, manage the anxiety of witnesses. You know, I've had conversations with witnesses that have trauma from the way and manner lawyers have spoken to them. You know, when you're shouting at them, is that word just makes me laugh. I put it to you. What are you putting it to me? You understand? So I just feel that as lawyers, we should be able to do better. And of course, you see, once you're emotionally intelligent, you're able to handle judicial scrutiny, you're able to maintain professionalism and composure, especially when challenged by a judge. And most importantly, you would learn to respond and not react. You know, there's a difference between your ability to respond, there's a difference between the ability to react. You're able to diffuse provocations from opposing counsel. You know, it does not always have to be all about bragado, pushing off, and all of that. But how about even emotional intelligence in arbitration? Because arbitration essentially involves, because arbitration essentially is a formal dispute resolution without the rigidity of a courtroom, you know, the procedures are usually streamlined. And so with emotions in play, it can still escalate, especially in commercial and employment disputes. So when you now apply emotional intelligence, it helps to maintain the client's trust, you know, because you're able to take them through what is going on. You're able to clarify the expectations. You're able to manage their disappointments. Even as far as dealing with the arbitrators are concerned, you're able to adapt your tone and pace, you know, to resonate with the arbitrators' communication style, and even handling settlement moments too. You know, you're able to recognize emotional signals, you know, when it looks as if the parties are ready to shift towards compromise. Now, all in all, the emotions across legal practice is this. As far as client relations is concerned, you're able to build trust. You're able to improve communication. Where negotiation is concerned, you're able to enable empathy, adaptability, and rapport. As far as advocacy is concerned, you're able to add credibility, be of persuasive impact, and control stress. And even your interpersonal relationship with your colleagues, you know, says a lot in terms of team dynamics and professional reputation. And I dare say this at the risk of patronizing Dr. Tolu. He has been able to do an excellent job at emotional intelligence. And that is the reason why you have people like us supporting him with this initiative, because you may discover at the end of the day that the ultimate game changer for some of us may be emotional intelligence. Thank you very much. So I deliberately decided to finish a little bit before time to be able to take as many questions as possible. Because like I always say, engagement is the strength of clarity, and feedback, they say, is the breakfast of champions. Thank you very much. So I would hand over the baton to Mr. Kelvin to take the questions. But if you have any questions, you can raise your virtual hands or either unmute yourself, and I will try to take the questions. Thank you very much. So we would just take questions for 10 minutes and finish for 6:15. So let me check the comment section. Okay. So I don't have any questions there. Okay, so thank you very much. So if you have any question on on emotional intelligence, if you have any question on mediation, really, because I think this will be the final class on mediation. So please kindly unmute and then we'll take it. So we have Kennedy, yes. So we are now extending the scope of questions to not only be for the infusion of emotional intelligence into mediation, but any question on mediation, because I understand that some people missed out on the first session. So thank you. So Mr. Kennedy, can I have your question? You can please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Fola, as usual, let me congratulate you on your brilliant presentation, as usual. And on the issue of conflict or dispute, let me use dispute, because I think dispute has a more personal touch than conflict. Conflict you might be talking about picking guns, to conflict. So now, Fola, I ask you, is dispute not cultural in nature? I think it is. Now, okay, because now what do I mean? There is a joke you might share with, let me say, in our Nigeria here, there's a joke you might share between two people who are from different tribes or ethnic groups, and they are almost up in arms for saying what you said. Now you say that same thing or share same joke with a man from Japan or India, and he's rolling on the ground in laughter. And so, you see, I think that the problem with us is not actually what happens to us from outside.
I agree, sir.
Yeah, it is how the name we call it and how we respond to it from inside.
I agree.
So now, do you not think, therefore, that just like you have demonstrably shown that mediation requires much more of emotional intelligence?
Yes, sir.
That also will require cultural intelligence.
Oh, without a doubt, sir. Oh, without a doubt.
Knowing where they are coming from, because if anyway, let me not because that's the question I want to put to you. That I know that people from different cultures. Okay.
No,
Hello.
Please continue, sir. Somebody unmuted himself or herself. Please continue.
Oh, okay. I think I'm done. Let's see how it comes to you.
Okay, sir. I totally agree with you, but the question I would ask is that don't you even think that if we decide to limit conflict to being cultural, we are even just limiting the concept of conflict? And because like you rightly said, what really is conflict? Because if one thing that can get one A upset and not get B upset, is it then safe to assume that conflict has a universal definition? We have some friends that when they just look at this. So you call a man a lion and he's happy. You tell the man is an animal and he's upset. You then ask yourself one question, please, what is a lion supposed to be? Is a lion not supposed to be an animal? You call a man a lion, he's happy. You call him an animal and he feels insulted. So at the end of the day, sir, to lend credence to what you have said, I think the problem really has to do with perception. It is not the problem is not the problem. It is the interpretation given to the problem that is the problem. That is number one. Then number two, I also agree with you that culture also plays a very, very, very big role, because as much as we may even talk about the universality of mediation, what makes mediation in one country different from mediation in another country is cultural. Now, so I happen to mediate in over 8 countries around the world. Now, if I'm mediating in Nigeria, I dare not assume that everybody would want to be, even if you're older than me, would want to be on a first name basis with me. The last train I just finished in Germany before joining here, there was a lady who was 54. Her name is Kristen. I saw her online, even with her white hair. I just called her Kristen, and she didn't have a problem with it. I dare not do that here in Nigeria. So you see how culture comes into play, because the first thing we hear is, why is this small boy calling me by my first name? So, and the same way we also have some quirks here in Nigeria that we consider normal. Abroad, they don't consider it normal because they feel that when we speak, we can be a bit violent in the way and manner we speak. So at the end of the day, I'm inclined to agree with you and to also lend credence to the fact that where everything is concerned, not only even dispute, it's usually a perception problem. So thank you so much for that intervention, Mr. Kennedy. So I don't know, do we have any question? Do you have any feedback? Do you have any comments? And I see that we have some seasoned mediators here with us. So we also have quite a lot of people, young mediators, young aspiring people here who want to come into ADR space, but today's conversation is really about mediation. So if you want to please drop a word or two. I see Miss Uzo Ogazi, you know that there's no way I will see you that I will not call your name unless I don't see that name anywhere. So she's one of the seasoned mediators, and also Mr. Kennedy too here, and Mrs. Favor who switched on our video. So if anyone has any word to those listening right now, as far as the future of mediation is concerned, it would be greatly appreciated before we call it a day. So if you are a seasoned mediator, you're here and you just want to drop a word or two on the future of mediation to lend credence to all that I have said, it would really be appreciated. Thank you very much. If
Thank
not, I'll
you
take.
very much.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Thank you very much, Mr. Fola, for this insightful session. Thank you. I think this is not supposed to be this can qualify for a TEDx talk because it's very, very, very important. I mean, emotional intelligence, not for this field alone, not for ADR alone, but I think it's even in the point of human existence. This is very, very important, and I applaud you for that. Thank you very much for this. I believe you've taken one question already. We can just take one. I think
Yes.
we can just take one more or two more or comments, and then we can call it a day, so we can have a good holiday.
Okay,
Any more
thank you.
questions, please?
I think I saw Basi Ete's hand up. I don't know whether the hand is still up. Oh, yes, it
Okay,
is.
Basi Ete, you can
Okay.
unmute your mic and ask a question.
Thank you, Mr. Fola, for your well-calibrated presentation. So I am a certified mediator with the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse. But after doing the training, one of the challenges which some of us have had is doing that transition. I also have a core litigation background. As you can see, I'm also blessed with the kind of quality of voice that you have, which speaks to the point you made about tonality. How do I manage the process of transiting from a core litigator to, a practical mediator, not just a mediator in terms of qualification, but one who participates, in actual mediation? Does your academy have, a process of helping people make that transition? And if so, how can we get involved with your academy? Those are some of the many questions that I have, but I just want to limit my questions to these two questions. You can also see I'm wearing a Man U shirt. If you're a Chelsea fan, I'm sorry, but it's a weekend and a holiday, so I hope I've not created a conflict by coming up here to this platform with the best uniform of the best, jersey of the best club in England. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so very much, sir. And because I train with over 15 organizations around the world, I'm always very, very careful to answer this question. But I'll tell you one thing for free, sir. Because you're with the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse, the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse is the best place for any aspiring mediator. And I say this without fear or favor. The Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse is the general hospital of mediation in West Africa. And it's always amazing when when mediators at the LMDC they don't take advantage of that because they feel, oh, what is being paid is not enough. I'll tell you one thing for free, sir. You see, mediation is a skill. Mediation can be likened to driving a car. You can only become a good mediator when you mediate. You understand? There is no way you can only become a good mediator when you mediate. So the first things first, and you see, the way mediation works is that you have to continue to do it over and over and over and over again for you to become very good. Now, if you ask around, sir, some of the best doctors we have in the country are from the general hospital. You then ask yourself one question: why do we have doctors in general hospitals being better than doctors in private hospitals? The answer is simple, because of the volume of people they treat. You find out that a doctor in the general hospital can treat the different variants of cough in one person. A doctor is probably attending to like between 50 to 100 patients every day. You cannot compare the competence of that doctor to a doctor in a private hospital that probably sees maybe 10 or 5 or 10 or 20 patients in a week. So first of all, that you're even with the Lagos multi-doctor house is gold. You understand? So the first things first is for you to use the Lagos multi-doctor house to hone your mediation skills. Because at the end of the day, it's all about value. It's really, and I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with your voice, if you ask me. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You know, the most important thing is that when you speak, do I hear what you say? Yes. You understand? And so if you looked at the diagram I put into place, yes, when we looked at the different what makes for effective communication, please give me 1 minute to just quickly bring that up to screen. It's really very important. And Mr. Kelvin, you know, my training is supposed to, the teaching is for 90 minutes, 5 to 6:30. So I'm still very, very, very much within time. And one of the reasons why I deliberately finished early enough was to be able to take as many questions as possible. So please, it's really very important that this is put into consideration. So like I said, yes. So like I said earlier on, I'm trying to find, yes, this. Now, can you see now, sir, what makes for effective communication? I'm looking at her. Yeah, what makes for effective communication? Now, you can see words is just 7%. You know, tonality is 38%, but the bulk of effective communication really has to do with physiology. You know, the way and manner those words are expressed. So I would beg to respectfully disagree with you that the voice really has anything to do with communication. Now, as far as my academy is concerned, now there is a reason why we don't train people to become mediators, and the simple reason is like, because that's the easy part, really. You understand? It's called the level 1 because, and I say this respectfully. You see, becoming a mediator is just the first step out of 100 steps, because the dynamics is this: you become a mediator, then what next? And I would always say this: any profession that you are in that you're not making money from is a hobby. That's the honest truth. If you're in any profession that you're not making any money from that profession, if you have a skill and you're not making money from that skill, what you have is a hobby. You know, so what we do at Fotefa Mediation Academy, we don't train people to become mediators. We train people to make money from mediation, because I will tell anybody that cares to listen that there's a gold mine in mediation. Why is there a gold mine? Because first of all, the mindset of the people are changing. You know, and if we decide to look at what is happening right now, some people, they don't go, the problem they have with litigation is the time that is spent. You know, you're asking yourself a question: am I going to be in court for 3, 5, 7, 9, 10 years? Then we also have arbitration. Yes, arbitration works, but then there's also the cost element ascribed to it. Now, if you then look at mediation, is mediation moving fast because people find it's effective? Maybe yes, maybe no. But people are coming into mediation because it's becoming a child of necessity. People are coming into mediation because now the clients are being programmed to be impatient. Everybody's all about speed. You understand? Everything is all about speed. You know, now we're talking about artificial intelligence. What is the conversation around artificial intelligence? The conversation around artificial intelligence is about speed. So if we're going to have any conversation at all, it's basically upon how to make money from mediation. And there is so much, ladies and gentlemen, to be made. Why? Because you see, you will find out one thing that, and I say this respectfully, out of every 5 people wanting to come into the ADR space, 4 of them are going into arbitration. Only very few are coming into mediation. That is why very few of us that have decided to come into mediation, we have literally dominated the space. When I tell people that this year would mark my 10th year as a mediator, they think I've been doing mediation for longer. Why is that so? Because I came into a field that a lot of people don't want to come into. So it was really easy to come into that space, dominate the space, and then become an authority in that space. Not only even here in Nigeria, but basically everywhere. You understand? So the conversation about it, as far as my academy is concerned, really is not to train people. It's basically just to make money around it. Thank you very much. So I don't know whether we have any intervention, any question, any feedback. I have 9 more minutes before I hand over to Mr. Kelvin. And I'll please crave your indulgence to take full advantage of this. This will be the last session on mediation. I think the next one will be on other topics on arbitration. Any intervention, any question, any feedback?
I think you have a question in the chat box.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Kelvin. One moment, please. Okay, I have a question, Sam, to start NYC next month, and I'm wondering whether I should serve at the Abuja Multi-Door Courthouse or a law firm. I have interest in mediation above all other practice areas. I'm at the early stage of my career, so I just want to know which would be best for me to pick now. Your advice would be greatly appreciated. You see, I wish I had this opportunity that you have right now, Joanna. It's all dependent on you. You know, I ask myself one question. This year would mark my 20th year as a lawyer. I spent the first 10 years in active litigation, and the only reason why I did so was not because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just didn't know what I wanted to know. I knew what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew what I did not want to do, and litigation was one of them. But because I didn't even know of mediation and all of that, I was just basically hovering around that space. So the question now is if you intend to build a career in mediation, if you genuinely love mediation, you know, you have to start small and go big. That's the thing. That's the answer I'm going to give to you. You see, mediation is a hard sell. So for now, I don't think the conversation really should be about even making money. The conversation should be about empowering yourself. Because you see, the conversation, not even only about mediation, is about value exchange. You know, if you're telling somebody to pay XYZ for something, you should be able to show value for it. So I'm assuming that you're also young too. So you have 3 things that are working for you. You have technology at your beck and call. So you have the world at your beck and call. And I can tell you for free that it is getting easier. So if you were to ask me, because I am biased actually, I think I'll just tell you to go to the Abuja Multi-Door Courthouse or to the Multi-Door Courthouse of any country, of any state you are in at all. Because those of us that have been able to excel in mediation, I'll tell you for free, it all started from the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse. The only reason why I am as good as I say I am, the only reason why I can handle practically any complex case at all is because of the Multi-Door Courthouse. Why? Because it is court connected. So because it is court connected, they open you to a lot of cases. Now, I'll also say this at the risk of walking on eggshells without bringing down any training organization I work with. A lot of them are into the business of training. What do I mean by business of training? They just train you to become mediators and they abandon you. You know, anybody can train anybody to become a mediator. You know, anybody can train anybody to become a mediator. But you see, the problem with mediation is the confidentiality. And why is it a problem? It is because, you see, I cannot just randomly bring anybody to come and observe mediation. And the standards of the multi-door courthouse, especially the Lagos multi-door courthouse, they will not, you cannot observe if you have not been trained by them. They will not give you cases if you have not been trained by them. And I can confidently tell you that their certificate has can be used anywhere around the world. I work with the United Nations. How did I get into the United Nations? I used my Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse. I mediate in Hong Kong. How did I get into the Hong Kong distance? I used the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse. I mediate in Malaysia, Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse. I mediate in Washington, Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse. I mediate in Germany, the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse. You know, they have never questioned the Multi-Door Courthouse certificate. Apart from even that, I don't train with the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse, so you understand. So I'm not. This is just free advertisement for them. Apart from even that, apart from even that alone, you see, the standards upon which they train you, it's a 6 days training. You understand? It's almost it's law school all over again, ladies and gentlemen. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You know, even after they have trained you from Monday to Saturday, you are going to then have another mentorship program for another maybe 2 or 3 months. After the mentorship, you then have, after mentorship, you have solo, you have co-observation. There is no way you will go through all of this that you will not even be very good at what you do. Even after they train you, I think the cutoff mark is like maybe 60 or 70. You know, now when an organization is so good that they don't even talk about what they do, those are the kind of organizations that you should go into, not organizations that make so much noise. So what I shared with you right now is I only have conversations like this at close quarters. So when people ask me that, oh, fine, just tell them, oh, you can share with any other any multi-door courthouse. But if you are coming into mediation, you understand, and you really want to get it right, just go to the Lagos multi-door courthouse. I don't think I have any more to say than this. Thank you very much. Wow, that was. You know when you feel like when you've said something and you know say the thing catch fire, you will feel it yourself. Kelvin, I think I'm done. Over to you. Don't mind me, I play too much. So I'm done, Kelvin.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Fola, for this session. It was as though you spent over 90 minutes as planned, but then it was just right on time. Thank you very much. I believe just not only me, but every member of this class have taken one or two things out of this class and for their own personal use, and it's going to help develop them individually. So I say thank you very much once again, and on behalf of the team and everybody, thank you for also being an integral part of this initiative, Mr. Fola. Thank you for always being on top of business, and it was intense. Yeah, I agree with you, Annabelle. Like this was intense. This was an intense class. So thank you very much, and thank you for all that you do for all of us here. We say a big thank you. To all members and all students here, I say thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking out time from this your holiday. It's supposed to be a holiday and everybody resting and the likes, but you took out time to get knowledge, and I believe that is going to be useful for you to you now and in future. So thank you once again. Recordings from this class would be shared over the weekend or latest by Monday, and then by next week we get the updates for next week's class. Next week's class is going to be week 7, if I am not mistaken, Mr. Fola.
Yes, it's going to be week 7.
Week 7, and I correct. So week 7, and I think we are almost on our 12-week mark.
Yes,
I'm with you,
almost.
Mr. Fola.
Yeah, may I please crave your indulgence to please ask as many of you to please follow me on LinkedIn, and follow me on LinkedIn, follow me on Instagram. On LinkedIn is Fola Alade, and on Instagram is Fotefa Mediation Academy. And why this is important is that basically we disseminate information on the business and practice of mediation globally. So you can please link up with me on LinkedIn at Fola Alade. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right. Thank you very much for this, and I believe everybody has taken one or two things out of it. So I want to wish you a happy holiday and happy weekend in advance. So yeah, thank you very much, and do have a beautiful weekend.
Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Thank you.